That's awesome. So where do you live right now?
Las Vegas.
Got you.
Wow.
How do
Yeah,
you
I've
like living
lived
in
here.
Vegas?
It's cool. I mean, it's
Yeah,
cool. It's a little bit different than I think what people like kind of perceive it as. Whenever I
sure.
talk to people from outside of Vegas, they go like, "Oh man, you go to the strip all
Yeah,
day."
yeah,
And like,
yeah,
no, it's not. To me, I never go to the strip. Like, I haven't been
yeah,
there in years. The only time I ever go is if like people from out of town want to come in town and want to
yeah.
go. That's the only reason I'll go. But I stay away from it. Like, I live on the outskirts on the east side of Vegas, and
Got you.
it's just like anywhere else. It's no
Yeah,
different. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a lot like, honestly, it's not that much different than like I've lived in Yuma in Arizona, which is not that far from the Imperial Valley. I've lived
Sure.
in Palm Springs. It's not that much different than all those places. It's desert, just like
Yeah,
Vegas. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, that's true. Vegas, obviously, you get off the strip, and it's just another. It's a normal city. It's just another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've lived
Uh,
here for like probably like 13 years now, 12 years
okay.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And what do you do out there? So I mean, obviously the running and everything like that. That's kind of I'm assuming a hobby, and potentially it was like a career as well. And so you also have like a full time job as well.
So right now I'm actually not working. My company actually just closed.
Okay.
That I partially just I worked for an arcade company. It was called Namco. And I
Okay.
used to be a manager and a route manager, and I just had a bunch of locations, and I would go and work on games and
Got you.
manage them and stuff. But actually, we just closed. So, but I'm just kind of like riding the unemployment for the last couple of months. But
Got you.
because I think a lot of it was closures due to COVID and stuff like
Sure.
that, they have like some they're giving us a shitload of money. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not spending money, and it's giving me that time to right now just train, because I've always worked full time
Yeah.
and training, and it's kind of like right now is the kind of time where I'm pretty close to being able to become like a quote unquote pro.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird because running is like you can be one of the best runners in the whole US. It's not glamorous like football or basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't, like, unless you're able to win the Olympics or
Yeah.
like win a New York City marathon, one of the big
Sure.
ones. That's
Yeah.
the only way you're going to be able to live a comfortable life. Like, I could probably get
Yeah.
on a team, but it's just going to be like not that great. Like,
Got you.
it'd be
Got you.
equal to just working like a $10 an hour job. You know what
Got
I
you.
mean? Like,
Got you.
yeah.
You would have to get like big sponsor, like kind of like be like be getting money from outside sources from it.
Yeah, yeah. I think the better way, since because the way I kind of went about it, I didn't really get back into it and start kind of being really good the way I am now until I was already like 20 something, late 20s. And I
Okay.
slowly kind of built into where I got now. And the best way to get into being a pro and getting a nice contract or getting it with a team is to come through like NCAAs,
Yeah.
and you have potential, and those are the guys they want to go after. Even though there's quite a few guys like me that are older that have a lot that I have potential to get a contract, but that's not
Yeah.
who they're really gonna want ideally. Unless I
Got
was
you.
to go and win a national title or a New York City marathon or be the top American at London or whatever. That's
Yeah.
the way I would have to go if I wanted to
That's the avenue you'd
actually.
have to take to try to get yourself into that
Yeah,
echelon right there.
yeah,
Got you.
and it's possible. I'm pretty close, but it's a big ask. And this past year has been obviously the same as anything. There's not
Yeah.
hasn't been races, so
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
little weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the main distance you compete at? Like in the Olympic trials you did in
So
2020?
yeah, so the main one, the big one that everyone you get the most notoriety from, where the most money is the marathon. So
Mm-hmm.
26.2 miles. Honestly, I've been kind of building into the marathon. I didn't really want to do one for a long time, because when I first got back into it, I mean, we're kind of jumping from now, but the marathon is the big one. But that's not where I started. I kind of
Yeah.
started. I was working a regular job. I was around like 26 or 27. I hadn't ran since high school. I did run one year
Yeah.
in high school and one year in junior college. But in that time, I just jumped into a random 5K. Like, I was working a regular job, and I wasn't really doing much athletically, competitive
Yeah.
wise. And I don't even remember why I jumped in one. I just picked one. There's 5Ks,
All the time. Yeah.
Ronald McDonald 5K or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I jumped in one, and I won. It's a lot of them aren't competitive. They're small local ones.
Yeah.
But I just enjoyed it, and every year I got more and more into it. And that was probably like 7 or 8 years ago from now. Now, right now I'm 33. And so around 27, I'd say 26 is when I kind of got back into it, but I built really slowly. So I started with just a 5K. And then I got more into it every year. I started doing bigger races, started training more year after year. I did a 10K, 10K 6 miles, 5Ks 3 miles. Those are the main distances. Eventually I did a half marathon. That's like the next one. And then I've done a bunch of crap. Like I've done trail races in the mountains, 50K, more than a marathon. I've done marathon road, trail marathons.
Yeah.
I do all of it. Like the way I came into it, the way I did it, I was just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to jump into the road marathon for the longest because it's real serious. Like that's where the serious big guns, everyone's guns are blazing.
Yeah.
And I was kind of doing it just for fun. But so eventually I built into to the point where the people around me were like, dude, you gotta fucking do a marathon. Like you could do this, you could do that, you could qualify for the trials and this and that. So eventually I kind of got forced into it just because of my trajectory and the way I was going. So I'm super competitive, but at the same time, I'm really laid back. It's really like a yin yang kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do a road marathon because it's just brutal. And I knew the way my mind is, I would want to qualify for the trials because I knew I was capable of it, but it's not something that's easy. So, but basically, eventually I got forced into it. And yeah, in 2019 in December, I did my first one. It was called CIM. It's in Sacramento.
Okay.
It's a real big one. It's called the California International Marathon, CIM. And that's where I qualified for the 2020 trials. So I ran 2 hours and 17 minutes there. And that was my first official road marathon.
Really?
2 hours and 17 minutes is where I ran at, and I placed 10th. And that's a big marathon. So for my first one, it was really good. But the goal, I got a coach, a really good coach leading into that. Before I wasn't even coached. I was
just going and running.
Just doing it myself. Yeah. But for that specific race, which was CIM, my goal was to qualify for the trials, which was only a couple months later. So December 2019 was CIM. That's where I qualified, and the trials was February 2020. So literally a couple months later.
Yeah.
So I qualified. To qualify for the men, you have to run 219 flat or faster.
Wow.
And I don't know how much you guys are into running, but so that's 5 minutes and 19 seconds per mile or faster for 26 miles.
Yeah.
To get 219. And I ran like 5:16 pace to run 2:17.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was the big thing. Like that's where everyone's like, I don't know. To me, honestly, running is not something that I ever thought like, oh, this is my favorite sport. I never wanted to, like, that was never my goal to qualify for the Olympic trials. Basically, the only reason is, like I was saying, I had been getting better and better and meeting, along the way, I would win a lot of races. Almost any race I would jump into, I would win, but I would never jump in those big ones. And the big ones is always the marathon. And people basically were like, you have to do it. This is where all the prestige is. This is where all the best runners are. It's the marathon. It's this, the trials. That's like the goal of every runner, is to qualify for the trials. And so eventually I broke and I did it. And then at the trials, it's not ideal. Like marathon training with a coach, the way I did it for CIM, I got a coach 3 months prior, and I trained for 3 months specifically just to run at CIM. Yeah. So it's a block of training. Think of it like a boxer or an MMA fighter trains for a fight. The best marathoners will only run a couple marathons a year. So you'll big block of training, and they stay fit year round, but you really get fit in that block.
Yeah.
And you build and build and build, and you peak, and you can only be at that peak for so long, or else you'll break down, you'll get injured. So you race, and then you take a break, and then you relax after the race or whatever, and then you pick some marathon 6 months down the road, and then you train for that. But to me, like, that's stupid. Like, the way I got into it, I would just look at the calendar and I would pick whatever race I wanted. I didn't care. Next week I'll go do one. So the way I kind of came into it, I didn't come into it the same as all these other people from NCAA and that always had a coach. I'm more like, I just do this because I like to have fun. So when I ran the trials in February, it was totally not ideal because first CIM was just my first marathon. Like, so I'm super inexperienced. So even though I did qualify to run the trials 2 months later, I didn't get a chance to really rest, which I didn't care about too much, but it just wasn't ideal. So when I ran the trials, I did good. I went in ranked. So they rank it just by time. I went in ranked like 160th or something like that. I think total runners, there was like 250 guys or maybe less, 200. But you can qualify anytime in that 4-year period. I had just qualified a couple months before.
Yeah.
So with my 217, I was like ranked 150th or something like that. So I took a rest and then I ended up training the next couple months and I ran okay. The course was in Atlanta and it was like super duper hard. It was super hilly. It was a really tough course. Like they were saying it was probably the toughest major marathon course that they had ever made. And they made it just specifically for the trials. So I just put it this way, with my 217.20, I was ranked 150th going in. At the trials, I ran 219.30 and I finished 52nd place.
Wow. So a lot of those guys fell off. Yeah.
Because it was just so hard and it was super windy out there. There was like 30-mile-an-hour gusts.
Oh yeah, that obviously that kills it too, man.
Yeah. And then on top of it, everyone's going for broke because at the trials, the top 3 make the team.
Wow.
Everyone else, you're just going out there to race now. So everybody's going for it. There's no like, I'm going to go conservative. If you're in that top 50, you're basically racing to win. Like, you know what I mean? There's no reason to try to go for 20th place. It means nothing.
Yeah.
So I did okay. Honestly, I wanted to run much faster. I thought I was in better shape than SCIM. But under the circumstances of the tough course, and I had nothing to lose, you know what I mean? Like, I ran 219. It was okay. I really wanted to run faster. And I haven't ran a road marathon since just because literally a couple weeks later, that's when the shutdown was.
Yeah.
So that was over a year ago now. That was like a year and a month ago.
That's crazy.
And it's weird because since then, I've gotten a ton better. Like I'm probably now in like 213, 214 range, which is a
where would that have been if you compared that to the trials?
So the winner was 209. 214 probably would have got me somewhere in the like top 20 range.
That's impressive though.
Maybe even higher. I'm not even sure. So the next, I don't like making goals. I just like doing it. To me, it's just like, I'll just get better and work hard, and then whatever comes. That's to me, that's how I've done it so far, and that's what's worked. So maybe I'll be more in 3 years in the next trials. The ultimate goal would to try to actually, qualify and get top 3. It's a big ask. The marathon is super hard, but that would be pretty cool if possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you still working with that same coach?
Yeah. So luckily, I got introduced to a really good coach. His name is Brad Hudson, and he's probably one of the top marathon coaches, probably in the whole country. I'd say it's hard to say who's the best or who's not the best, but he's in that real well respected. He's been around for a long time, and the only reason I really got to get with him is because I have a real good friend here in Las Vegas who had already qualified for the previous trials in 2016. And her name is Christina. And she honestly, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have ran the marathon. She's one of the people that kind of has been pushing me with like a lot of my friends. And she had already done it, and she was with that coach. So of course, when I was ready, that's how I got in with him, just through her. Kind of gave me the connect. But yeah, he's a real good coach. It's pretty crazy. It's crazy the difference between just doing it on your own and then getting a coach who's of that caliber. It's crazy the jumps in doing it the right way, planned. He'll write out a schedule and everything's scientific. He could tell me what I'm gonna race by my workouts, by what he gave me. And the dude can be within like 10 seconds in a marathon or half marathon. It's insane. Yeah. So it's real scientific, it's real analytical and all that stuff. And it's, yeah, it helps to have something like that when you're doing endurance sport, especially in any sport. But
Sure, yeah. Obviously, how much you notice that increase your performance just by getting with someone who was kind of planning it out for you and putting you through an exact process because how they knew that was gonna push you to this next level.
yeah, when I first got with him, when I was training for CIM, in that 3 month span, I was doing workouts in that last month before the race, and I was like doing workouts where I was just afterwards, I would be like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, how the hell did I do that? And it
Yeah,
wasn't, yeah, doing that when you completely surprise yourself, and it's not like I was completely surprised in the sense I never thought I could do that. But then when you go and do it, and it's not even that hard, it's just training.
yeah,
I was like, this is crazy. Like, coaching works, and I've been around the sport now for a while, so I know that that's the best way to do it. That's just not how I did it because I was just having fun. And
yeah,
then putting yourself in it, and then you peak, you know what I mean? Like an actual like professional athlete. I'm like, okay, like it's it's there for a reason. There's a reason
sure,
it works. Yeah, and it's
yeah.
pretty crazy. Yeah, it's pretty if you can handle it. Marathon training is a lot of if you can handle it without getting injured. I
Yeah, it
just
seems like it's got to be very difficult on your body as
yeah.
a. I mean, for obviously anyone who runs a marathon, but someone to like train consistently to be an elite marathon runner, that's got to be very difficult on your body.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing about running. Is it's as hard as you want to make it. There's no,
Yeah,
it could be, people completing a marathon is hard just as it is.
in as itself, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But if you say I want to just walk a marathon, it's still difficult. But if you say, okay, I want to now do a marathon and maybe I just want to go, the time doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure I don't walk at any point. Then it
yeah,
becomes more difficult. And then you get someone who says like, oh, I want to, 3 hours is the mythical thing for most general people. They want to break
uh-huh.
3 hours. Then it becomes even more difficult. You could challenge yourself. However, it can
Yeah,
be as hard as you want it to be, or it could be pretty easy. You can just you can run every day just for health or for fun.
sure,
It's pretty crazy to me that it's not like other sports in the sense of basketball where you can't just go and play in the same tournament as LeBron James.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can't play pickup ball with these guys, or you can't
yeah,
go to a combine with the top NFL players.
yeah,
You can go run at New York City
with
Marathon. You have to
elite,
qualify,
yeah,
but you'll be on the same start line as the Olympic champion.
yeah,
Yep.
You can go to if you say you live in LA, and you go to a big race in LA, and there's no qualifying times, you just sign up. You're probably going to be there, and if it's a big race in LA, there's going to be maybe some Olympians there, and they'll run the
yeah,
same race you run it. So that part about running is actually pretty interesting because it's like a base thing for sports. It's
yeah,
running is a sport, but at the same time, running is just something we do naturally. So it's
yeah,
kind of a weird thing. It's super duper baseline. And that's probably why I do it now more than anything else, is because I can just go throw on my shoes, a pair of
yeah.
shorts, and I go
It
running.
doesn't take anything else from you. I mean, as other than
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
hitting the road.
I grew up playing all the sports. I played basketball, I played football, I wrestled in high school, I
Yeah,
played soccer, I did everything. I liked all the
yeah.
sports. And running was never one that I was like, oh, I can't wait to grow up so
That's
I can
it.
run.
Yeah,
Like, nah, to
yeah,
me, running is not that fun. It's not that
yeah,
No.
interesting. The reason I do it now is because it's just so easy to do. You can go before work or after work. You don't need to call your friends. You don't need to get the basketball, meet you at the basketball court. Let's
yeah,
go to the gym, get my gym bag ready and pay
yeah,
for the gym membership. And running is like the base, simple thing. And the fact that you can still compete at a high level and it's so easy access.
yeah,
It's all results based. I don't have to do anything or get in. All you have to do is how fast do you run? Oh, do
yeah,
you run? When I was coming up into it, I was running certain times, and then with my times, then eventually I could just get into races for free. They had like elite entry, and I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to know anybody. I didn't have
yeah.
I didn't have to have a history and run NCAA or anything. It's just basically if you're good enough, you're in. That's
Hmm.
all it is. Like it's super duper like baseline simple.
Did,
To me, that's the biggest appeal for running.
did you run track in high school at all?
I did, yeah, I did. So I know this is a brawly, kind of a
Exactly. Yeah.
podcast
It
thing.
was
So
small town success with it. Yeah. So
yeah,
coming from out
yeah.
of here.
So my roots in Brawley are pretty deep.
Yeah.
You guys know my dad.
Yeah.
He went to Brawley High School. My mom went to Brawley High School. That's where they met.
Yeah.
My dad played sports in Brawley. He played football. I think it's always weird if you're growing up with your dad. Your dad's always bragging. My dad used to always brag about Brawley and Brawley football. And we used to watch his tapes, and he was always bragging. I was the best football player. I think he did win the MVP at his senior year, and the Bell game and videos. And we used to watch videos, and he had videos of them fighting, like my uncle jumping out of the stands. It was crazy back in the day versus El Centro. And he's like, we hated El Centro. And, so my dad went to high school there. My mom went to high school there. My mom's dad, my grandpa, he went to high school there. Like my dad still lives in Brawley. My little brother just graduated. My youngest brother just graduated from high school. My dad is one of 14 kids. They all went to Brawley. And all those 14 kids had kids. So my cousins there's been Santanas going to Brawley.
Yeah.
Probably for the last 30 years or 40 years.
Exactly.
Wow.
No,
it's
a very, very well known name in Brawley. Very well known name in Brawley.
Yeah, we're huge. We have a huge family, dude. We used to go to my grandma Santana's house on my dad's side, and she lives on the east side of Brawley.
Okay.
And we used to go there growing up as kids. All the uncles would bring their kids to my grandma's house for Christmas.
Yeah.
And just put it this way, I had 30 cousins there. We'd have basketball tournaments. You know what I mean? Like we'd have video game tournaments. We'd have flag football on the streets against our uncles, and all our uncles played sports. So I grew up in that atmosphere. And that's so coming from that Brawley in my family, that's something that still to this day, I go and win these races and I compete. And to me, it's just normal. You know what I mean? And I think I meet people from different places and I tell them stories about my cousins and growing up in Brawley in this little town. And, to me, it's normal to do this kind of stuff. I would tell them some of these stories, and I realize it's not necessarily normal,
No.
Brawley to me was like the biggest thing. I remember my mom and dad got divorced, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in elementary school, I lived with my mom, and she lived in Yuma. And Yuma's not that far. We used to play Pop Warner. I was playing Pop Warner, and I was on the Yuma team, and we played Brawley. And I remember I would wear, under my pads, I would wear my dad's Brawley football shirt when he was in high school. And I would wear it under my Yuma uniform. And because I grew up, going to Brawley, my family. And I remember some of my teammates seeing it, like, what the fuck? You're like, you got a Brawley.
Were you Scorpions or Rattlers or Sidewinders?
Scorpions, yeah.
Scorpions in the green.
So I grew up with I always wanted to grow up in Brawley, even though I was living with my mom. So I ended up moving back to Brawley. I got to move with my dad in junior high. Eventually, I begged my mom for like 6 years. And eventually she let me. And I went to junior high at Barberworth, and then I went to high school. And that was like, when growing up, Brawley was like the shit to me. You know what I mean? Like that's always where I wanted to go. Going to high school there to me was like the coolest thing. And like I said, I loved all sports. I was CIF champion in wrestling. Obviously on the wrestling team was team champions all the years. My sophomore year, I actually got second. I really should have won it my sophomore year. My junior year, I didn't make weight. I was pretty stupid back then. Like it's crazy to look back and see how immature and how not focused and stuff I was. Yeah, I didn't even make weight my junior year, so I didn't wrestle at CAF. And thinking back now, I'm like, man, I let my team down and my coach down. And at that point, I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't care. I was like, oh, I feel sick. I didn't make weight. I felt bad for myself. Looking back now, I'm like, man, that's a big letdown to let my team down like that. Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I understand.
But I also ran track. Only 1 year. Well, actually, my junior year I did. I ran track and cross country my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
But I got injured, so I had broken my collarbone wrestling in the summer. Going into my junior year, I was actually wrestling Davey Villagrande, who was already out of high school, but he was like
Yeah.
he had placed at nationals like 4 years earlier in high school.
Yeah.
So
I
Davey
think
Gagron was
he's a
like,
year older than I am.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was like a badass. He was a total badass.
Yeah.
I was wrestling with him.
Yeah.
He was actually wrestling at Cal Poly or whatever college he was going to, and he would come back in the summer.
Okay.
So I was wrestling with him, and we were wrestling, and I forgot what happened, but I broke my collarbone wrestling him.
Dude was strong, man. Strong, dude.
He was a
Yeah.
badass. Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
placed 8th at high school nationals. You know, he was a big
Yeah.
deal.
Oh, he's a freak. He played
Yeah.
Pop Warner. Like we played Pop Warner growing up, but he was always small. But that dude would just smack people.
Yeah.
You know, and then in high school, it just wasn't that big. So he didn't really, he just stuck to wrestling. But dude was a savage, man.
Yeah.
Talented.
I mean, there's some guys where you look at them and they can move and they're so agile. It's almost like an animal kind of the way he was so quick and he was so strong and so fast. Yeah, he was amazing. But yeah, I broke my collarbone wrestling him.
Got you.
And so at the end of that summer, going into my junior year, I had done nothing all summer because my collarbone was broke. And my cousin and a couple of my friends, we had like maybe 2 weeks left till school was about to start, and my collarbone was just healing. And my friends were like, "We're gonna go to cross country practice. We're gonna join. Come with us." And I was like, "All right, cool." And I was completely out of shape. I hadn't done anything all summer because I had just been laying down with my broken collarbone. So I went to cross country with them, and the first, it just happened to be that day they were doing a time trial. So usually you don't race. Every day is just practice. You know, we'll go run 3 miles easy. Just happened that day was a time trial. So I'm so stupid and competitive that I was like, okay, yeah, I'll run the time trial, even though I knew I shouldn't have. And I remember I finished like 7th on the team, and I barely at the end beat the #1 girl on the team. And I remember throwing up everywhere after like running 3 miles, and like I was throwing up for like 5 minutes, and I never throw up. But yeah, that was I ran that day, and by the end of the week, I was the #1 runner on the team. Like I was super good at it naturally. And I went crazy because I hadn't done anything all summer, and I had been playing sports my whole life, and to do nothing all summer, like I was super like pent up. So I ran crazy for those like 2 weeks, and we had the first races in San Diego, like right when school started, and I ran like out of my mind, and I was like top 10 at some race in San Diego. But I started to notice I was having a lot of pain in my shins, and I got shin splints so bad. But the thing was, I didn't have any of those muscles developed. And on top of that, I was running in basketball shoes. I didn't have running shoes. So running super hard and getting super fit in 2 weeks, I tore my legs apart, and I had shin splints the whole year. So I didn't run any more races. I couldn't practice anymore after that. I went into wrestling season that year, and I was even hurt in wrestling season. I couldn't run my junior year, and then I didn't make weight. Like that was a bad year. And then even in the track, I tried running track, and I was starting to get better, but they would let me run in the races, but I couldn't train because they were like, if you train, it's just going to get worse. So I would just run the races. Then I did okay, but so that was my first year running track too. I hadn't run track before, but because cross country and track are kind of like linked, it was like the same thing. So then the next year, I was like, that was my senior year now. And I was like, I got hurt in cross country, and I was like, the way it came up so fast and I did so well, I was like, I felt like it just like I had something and it just like slipped away. I didn't make weight for wrestling. I let my team down. I didn't get to wrestle at CAF. And then track, I was basically running races without training. So my senior year, I was like, this is my last year in high school. And like, I hadn't won CAF in wrestling, even though I placed second my sophomore year. So I was like super pumped to get into it. And by that time, my shin splints had healed. And I placed 3rd at CIF in cross country, which was like even better than I thought because I was still inexperienced. I had ran one race the year before, and before that I didn't even run. So I placed 3rd at CIF, and I qualified for state. I don't remember what I did at state, but it was okay. Considering I had only ran 1 year, it was like really good. Exactly. And then in the wrestling season, I won CIF. I kind of like fell apart at Masters. So after CIF and wrestling, there's Masters, which is all the divisions. So CIF is kind of like broken down D1, D2, D3. And going into Masters after CIF, it's all the best, all the top 3 from like each division.
All of San Diego County. So the top ones from all of San Diego County. Yeah.
So I was ranked number 2. There was one guy.
What was your weight?
130 my senior year.
Okay.
and there was a guy from Poway, and Poway is like the powerhouse in wrestling in
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yep.
They're one of the best teams in the state every year, and they dominate San Diego. Like
Mhm.
Brawley's a powerhouse too in wrestling. But
Poway's out
but
there
not,
trying to sneak kids out of other programs type of Poway.
oh yeah,
Kind
oh
of
yeah,
they're
oh
they're
yeah.
they're recruiting and stuff. So
Sounds like you
Poway's.
know all about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you were a good wrestler and you were going to a high school and you were on a bad team, Poway would move you to get your parents to move those kids, the talented kids, to
Yeah.
Poway. So they have it was an all-star team, and they had the best coaches, they had the best program. Yeah. So the Poway guy was ranked number 1, I was ranked number 2, and he was actually ranked like 3rd or 4th in state. And we were 1-1 in the season. He beat me at a duel, and I beat him at a San Diego tournament. But I beat him in like double overtime. Like we were having insane matches. And then there was another young kid who was a sophomore, and he was from Kearney, and he was really good, but he was young. And we had wrestled like 4 times that year, and I beat him each time. But every time we wrestled, he got closer and closer and closer.
He was
and
figuring some things out. He's starting to catch on. Yeah.
And we wrestled that CIF finals, and I beat him by like 1 point.
Wow.
And so me and him met in the semis, and he beat me, and it was a real close match. And I fell apart mentally. Like I was just so crushed. And it was at Southwest that year. And my family was there. Everybody was there from the Valley. And I was just super pissed because I wanted to wrestle that Poway guy so bad in the finals because we were 1-1. Yeah. And I fell apart. And the top 3 go to state. I easily should have. So I lost in the semis. I should have won my next match, and then I would have been at 3rd place, and I would have went to state. But the next match, I was devastated, and some guy who's not even that good beat me, and I was just like, I didn't even try, and I fell apart mentally, and it was bad. It was real bad. Again, I let my team down. Tony, my coach Tony, who's an amazing coach, you know.
Yeah,
I let
amazing
him down.
person, man. Tony's an awesome guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember my parents, and I was pissed, and I didn't even talk to them. I wasn't talking to my dad or mom, who were just there to watch me, and they were like, you know, looking back, it's pretty sad how much I fell apart. I wouldn't even talk to them that day. And they came just to watch me. They wanted to like console me, but I was super pissed. And anyway, young kid, Nick Blair, wrestled that guy in the finals, the Poway guy and the young kid. And the Poway guy just was railing him, tearing him apart. And then at the very end of the 3rd period, the young kid threw him and pinned him with like 10 seconds left. And that young kid won Masters.
So that kid won Masters as sophomore. Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. So that was
he took care of it for you then. He got that.
I mean, I was gonna be salty either way, no matter which.
Sure.
Yeah. And then track was next. So I was like super pissed about wrestling. So then I went into track pretty hungry. And track was like super, super fun. Like track is so fun in high school, man. And
it's pretty chill overall vibe and stuff like that. And
our class that year was just mega talented. I mean, we had Zay, we had Sam Toomer, we had Derek Barkham. We had James Haley was talented in track. I mean, he was good in basketball too, but his mom was the coach. So the thing about track at CIF finals and track and field, there's only 2 divisions. And track CIF finals, they break into D1 and D2. And we're obviously small, so we're going to be D2. And in track and field, that's all the best runners in San Diego. And there's only so many events, and you score like 10 points for winning. So the fact that Derek scored 10 points, and I think I got 3rd in the 1600, which is the mile, we scored points. It doesn't take much points to win a CAF title. Like we had,
because there's like one good person in this event from this school, and then it's just so spread out. Yeah,
exactly. And so the way you win is the biggest way to win is to have people in the relays, and those guys with their talent. They could have scored in the 4x1.
Yeah, it would have been very good to relay. Yeah.
You know, and I was killer. Like I could have ran in the 4x4 with them. We could have placed in the 4x4, and we could have placed in the 4x1. Derek won the 110 hurdles. That's insane. That's a lot of points. I scored in the 1600. You're telling me Sam and Zay couldn't score some points somewhere else? You know they could have.
Yeah. Those guys in the 4x100 or something like that would have been like. Would have been awesome to see them.
It would have been amazing.
Run that and apply themselves to that. because yeah,
Yep.
their speed would have been it would have translated to the track as a uh yeah.
Dude, that Zay was a what a dude. Like people don't know that I'm from Brawley. You guys are from Brawley, so you guys got to see
Oh, I
what
Oh
played.
yeah.
So I was a senior when Zay was a sophomore. So Zay played. You know, he didn't
yeah,
start at running back for us, but he played. Right. We had a lot. We had talented people, but I mean, everyone knew Zay was going to be that guy when he was 8 years old. Like,
yeah.
yeah, Zay's older cousin, Chris Shepard, called him Goo back in the days. We played Pop Warner together, and then high school, and he moved to Sacramento, or Merced or wherever up there. But everyone knew that Zay was a freak. He just
I
is
mean,
gonna be
I don't
special.
know if dude, he broke the all-time scoring San Diego section record. And
Yeah,
there was like Marcus Allen, Ricky
yeah,
Waters. Dude,
yeah,
there's like
yeah. No, yeah, Reggie Bush was obviously yeah, right
yep.
before him. Yeah, Reggie's my age. Yeah, so like yeah, obviously Zay was
Yeah.
insane. So yeah, having that speed on that track would have been
Dude,
fun to see.
that my year 2005, our talent sports wise was just bonkers. Like I remember at
Mhm.
the end of the year, someone showed me something. Maybe it was Brewer, the AD. He
Uh-huh.
showed me like a list of all the sports that Brawley competed in, male and female, in the Valley for Valley, IVL championships, and we had won all of them, but like
Yeah,
all of them, but like three. It was
yeah,
everything. You know what I
yeah.
mean? We were second at CIF in football. We were CIF champions in wrestling. Like we were, it wasn't even close. And you guys grew up in the Valley. Like to be able
Yeah.
to just stomp on everybody else, stomp on El Centro, like when it's not even close. Like didn't even have. You couldn't say that we had rivals because we were just way better than
Dude,
everyone else.
my junior year we beat Central 76-7 in the Bell game. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
you know,
bad.
like so yes, but it was, and I remember like that time, you know, of being in high school, and most sports that we played, it was like no one was no one was
Yeah,
close to any of our sports.
yeah.
Volleyball, softball, it didn't matter. Like I
The
mean,
chess
obviously
team,
wrestling, yeah.
badminton.
You were on the chess
Yeah.
team, right?
Yeah.
No, but yeah,
No,
it was. It's that personality, that thing that you
and I'm
have.
a little younger than you. I'm 26. I don't know if you remember Chato's little brother, Jonathan Butler, is his half brother.
I remember
I
him when
mean,
he
he was
was really young, but I don't remember
Yeah.
him when he's older. I never got to really meet him.
yes. I grew up with him. I've been best friends with him for a while, and I remember Zay living with Chato and stuff. And I don't want to get too emotional because during Chato's podcast, I got a little, you guys are heroes and all this stuff. And
Yeah, but no,
but
I would talk
he's
to people 5 years later, you know what I mean, or whatever, and it's oh yeah, bro, I just lost the bill game, and I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
people
yeah,
are still talking about your class, dude.
No, I know that's what's funny. Like afterwards, like God, how'd you like you guys lose to these like, but
yeah,
you know,
you know.
just because
I,
it wasn't
you're
even.
talking about your bell game. I used to be the water boy for the football team, and I used to because my dad was coaching, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure I was there for that one. Was that one
I'm
in El Centro?
yeah, it was in El Centro. Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I remember. I think my cousin Richie was playing. I remember my cousin Richie Santana might have been older than you, and maybe that was
Yeah,
another year.
yeah, no, that was the year before that. I
And
think
they
he
had
was
won,
the year.
and they had won like 80 something to 0 too. Like,
So
yeah,
yeah,
those
my
years.
I think we won 58-0. His that senior. So I was
Yeah,
a sophomore, and
yeah,
we played. Yeah, I think that was
those
like
years. I
58
mean,
to nothing.
it
And
wasn't even close.
no,
We
it was
no.
probably could have put their JV team out there and
dude.
beat Central.
I mean, yeah, like yes, yeah. Oh man, those are fun memories, which is funny.
I remember just going to the game when the football game at Qualcomm when they made it to the finals. I felt like
Yeah.
the whole town was there. The
We
whole
were all there.
town
It
was at
was, man.
I
Qualcomm.
was
It's
even
it's
there.
funny because we talked about that. Like, so I mean, I was I was in college and I was coaching football at Imperial, and we lost in the semifinals that year to go to Qualcomm, and Palo Verde played Santa Fe Christian the game before Brawley's game, and so we were there because like we were watching that, and obviously watching Brawley. But man, the whole Imperial Valley like turned out for that, and that's what's so cool about the Imperial Valley is that um, e- everyone. I think there's definitely amazing support from this area when people know of things that are going on and seeing people have success. And I think a lot of this valley gets behind that, and one, definitely
Yeah.
encourages that.
I was in 3rd or 4th grade at Magnolia Elementary, and they shut the school down that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Dude,
were
I
there,
remember.
all of us.
Dude, I remember
That
I
was
was,
wild.
and there's a lot of like back and forth with like, oh yeah, the wrestling team and the football team, but to me
Oh
there
yeah,
was never any.
always has been, but
To me there was never any of that because I played football my freshman year and I was real good friends with those guys, with Zay and Chato and Leo
yeah.
Ibarra and all those guys. I wanted them to win. Like when they lost, I was just like, I can't believe it. And those guys were crushed, man. The
Oh
next
yeah.
couple of weeks, those guys were like, you could have guessed that someone's mom died or like the mayor
No,
died.
yeah, yeah. That's funny you mentioned that, man. You know how, like, I mean, there's the guys who play football and wrestle, right? Both there's those few guys that are those, but a lot of times, and at Brawley especially, is like you wrestle or you're a football player.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, oh, you guys don't have a title on the side of the
Yeah.
Palmer Auditorium though, but that says wrestling though, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, bro, like, I mean, and it was like there's a bit of animosity between the
Well,
wrestlers.
it's a funny dynamic because no matter what the wrestling team did, and the wrestling team is amazing.
Yeah.
The Brawley wrestling team, when you look at it, we're a small town in the podunk town in the desert, and we go up to San Diego and we're just whooping we're a powerhouse. Brawley is a legit powerhouse. Besides Poway, it's Brawley is the next team.
Yeah, that name is well known in the wrestling community. Yeah.
And so and Brawley did it for so long and was so prestigious, but no matter what the wrestling team did, they never got the respect the football team did. So that's the funny dynamic.
A bell game win could be bigger than a CIF championship for wrestling.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It never made sense.
Brawley has been a football town for so long. It didn't matter what the wrestling team does. The wrestling team could have won a national title. It was still wouldn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, it is obviously a big deal, but it is difficult to trump football in the Imperial Valley. And I mean, it definitely is because, like you said, I mean, our a CIF semifinal game, when I was a junior, I mean, it was packed with people from the Imperial Valley. So like it was, and you're not going to get the same turnout at a wrestling tournament necessarily from the entire, but it's just hard. It's hard. So, but
it's part of it, dude. It's like woven into the town. You watch those, TV shows they make about football towns in Texas and
football towns, and
that is Brawley. That is, I'm not from El Centro, but I'm sure it's probably similar in El Centro. We grew up.
I think the Imperial Valley in general, because it is such a small area, and I think that's like just one of the things, right? Growing up here is like, what else did you do? Is you played sports, and I think football's always been that for this area.
Who from Brawley growing up didn't go to the football game on Friday night?
Or, exactly.
You know what I mean? Who in Brawley has not been to a bell game?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that's part of it. It's not the same in wrestling. It's not the same in wrestling. It'll never be. That's part. Football is just so much more a part of small town.
It brings so many people together for something. It's very, very unique in that sense. So that's awesome. Obviously, it's funny coming from this area because obviously you share so many experiences, and even not having dealt those experiences together, but those really share those experiences and I can recollect on them and like really kind of connects everyone. It's pretty unique to being from here. But
you guys were talking about how like growing up, the younger generation would look at the older generation and stuff like, and I think that's part of it too. Where in Brawley, you get, or any small town, you get to kind of know the next generation and you get to know them even personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's your older brother. He's on the football team, or that's my cousin, or that's my neighbor. Everybody knows everybody too. So it's just much more intimate and personal where, say, if you lived here, like where I live in Las Vegas, or you lived in LA, or even in San Diego, such a big place, doesn't get you don't have the opportunity to be so close-knit and be more passionate. Not to say that those other places can't be passionate, but it's totally a different.
Sure. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Because like you said, man, like as kids growing up, whoever was ahead of you, above you, whether it's 5 5 years old and you're whatever, I think you knew who those people were. And like you said, I mean, you could essentially touch those people that, like you could see them. Like I remember like this guy's dad was coaching Pop Warner. And when I was in high school, he asked like us to go talk to the Pop Warner kids, like at practice. And, so like they could, it's just, and then I think that's what inspires kids and drives kids to want to continue to do things in sports, because they see and can understand those guys right ahead of them that are doing the same things, which is very cool and unique for this, with you is like all these track people, or these cross country people, or things like that. Is I mean, for me, I wouldn't have had no clue how do you go, how do you get into the Olympic trials? How do you even go to get to that level? How do you, and I think like you mentioned, I mean, it's hard to make it to a professional level in that sport, but I mean, understanding like there's a future in these sports if you want to put in that work, and then and a little bit of a roadmap of how to do it.
Sports is a weird thing after high school or college, post collegiate, post high school, whatever you want to say. It's almost a weird. People, I feel like there's something about it where most people think that's it.
Yeah.
I went to high school and that's it. I listened to the podcast you guys had with Chato on, and he even said it, like after my high school, that I hung on my cleats, move on to the next. And that's, I think, what most people think. So
sure.
Generally, the population, even people that did play sports in high school, or even if you go to the next level in college, after that, then it's really it. It's so, unless you're someone that has a real future in playing pro, it's super hard to imagine that. So
it ending at some point and it being over.
And it's weird to me because I easily could have not jumped back into running. And I never got like out of shape. I've been doing sports and doing athletics my whole life. I've been, even if I wasn't going to do running, I would have done something else. Like I was telling you, it's not like, to me, running never felt like something special. Like, I love running, or it could have been anything. If I wasn't running right now, I'd be playing competitive ping pong or flag football. It doesn't
something
matter.
To drive that internal competitiveness and
And I think if kids were to, if I was to tell something to younger athletes, it's that it doesn't have to end if you don't want it to.
Sure.
I didn't run for 6 years. I didn't run at all for like 6 years after high school. And my 1 year, I didn't even go over it, but my 1 year at junior college, I went to Southwestern in San Diego, and I had a really good coach, actually. He was from Uganda, and he was, so he would tell us, he said when we started there, he would say, and it was only a JC, so it was pretty cheap. You didn't have to have like a scholarship to go there. But he would say, if you run for me for 2 years and you have the grades, I guarantee I will get you to a university, to a 4-year college for your final 2 years. I'll get you with some kind of a scholarship. Like he would guarantee it. I was so, young and stupid and immature that I didn't even take advantage of that. That year, I wouldn't listen to what he said. I didn't hardly, I enjoyed doing it. I ran track and cross country, but I was not training very hard. I didn't get any better than my senior year. I pretty much stayed exactly the same. And then I started working at UPS, and I just didn't go back my next year, and I just forgot about it. And then I became an adult and I worked a regular job. I moved to Las Vegas. And I could have easily just lived out the rest of my life. And not that that's a bad thing. You don't have to play sports. But at some point, when I did jump into 5K, like I said, I don't even remember why. But when I did, it brought back why I loved playing sports, why I loved doing athletics. And it kind of faced me with my athletic life. And I realized, I was always really talented. I always thought I had the capabilities to do really good, but I would slack, my wrestling thing, where I didn't make weight, or I just fell apart at the end, or I only really ran 1 year in high school. Like I did of running. I didn't actually get to my potential at all. And that made me kind of wake up and realize, well, why can't I? I'm only 26 or 27.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
why don't I try? And I took it real slow. I didn't say like I need to do this in 1 year, but just getting back into it, you know what I mean? I could have easily not, but I did.
Yeah.
And I almost live for training now. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy it so much, and it makes you learn a lot about yourself, and the mental aspect is a big huge thing. To me, it makes my life just so much better to still do it. Sports has always made my life better. Like
Yeah.
I would mess up in high school and grades and all that stuff, and the only reason I would do better is because I wanted to be eligible for
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you are someone that, and there's a ton of kids, and it doesn't have to be sports, it could be music or acting, you know, whatever it is that you
Whatever
enjoy doing,
extracurricular. Yeah.
you can really harness that if you're, you know, mature enough at some point. You can harness that and use it to really set your life right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could there's so much cool people I met just because of running in this past like 7 years, and cool opportunities.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's just because I get all this cool stuff. Like I get paid now to go, like not that long ago. I got recruited to pace a girl named Sarah Hall, who's like the best American marathoner right now. So they paid me to
Okay.
go out there, and she paid me money to pace her to try to break the
Yeah.
American record. And we were on like, you know, it was like on NBC and all that stuff. And I
Wow.
got to run with her and help her and try to help her break the American record. And she missed it, but she got the #2 all time. But something like that.
Jeez.
And I look at it and I
Yeah.
say, this is like, how did I get here? Like, I was
Yeah.
just doing this for
Wow.
fun like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the Olympic trials, you know what I mean? And there can be a lot of great things that can happen if you just harness what you're into, what you do right. If you
Yeah.
can really hone it in and harness it in the right way. And it doesn't matter
Yeah.
if it's out of high school or not out of high school.
Sure. No, and that's very true. Like you mentioned, you know, I mean, and I've been helping kids get recruited, like football, especially, and other sports, but I mean, mainly football since, you know, like since pretty much like since like kids right after I got out of high school. And if kids when they're in high school, if they have that talent and they can realize that that talent can take them somewhere and use that, like you said, you would just get grades just so you could stay eligible. If kids like that can realize that, okay, if I want to, I am really good at this. I need to do these things and get to at this level so I could do this. But a lot of kids don't realize it till it's too late, and
Dude,
you know,
and
miss out on the
I could totally
opportunity.
I could
Yeah.
totally sympathize with that, because like I said, I did the same thing. Like I look back at what I was
Yeah.
doing, like in wrestling, how I would do this stuff, and in school. And I played football my freshman year. I loved football growing up, but my dad was
Yeah.
the coach, and we
Yeah.
fought all the time because he was just he wanted it so bad too. Him growing up in
Sure.
Brawley, he wanted to, and he knew I was good at sports. He knew I could have done great stuff in
Yeah.
football, and he wanted it so bad. He pushed me so hard, and I was so rebellious, and
Yeah.
because of that, I didn't play football after my freshman year. I broke my arm really bad freshman year, like where
Okay.
my hand was like over here.
Oh God.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
running, and someone grabbed my jersey, and I kept running. And while that person had my jersey, like 5 people cut up to me and all jumped
Oh,
at me at the same time. So I put my arm down
snap.
to kind of, and it just went ploop. And
Oh
it was
man.
pretty bad. I still have like a big scar.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah, so I
So
had like
did the bone come out or no?
the bone didn't come out, but
No,
it was
not
like my
compound.
arm was over here, and like
Yeah.
I freaked out, like just I panicked. So when the pile got out, I remember yelling for Keith Smith was the coach, and I was like, "Coach, my arm!" And out of panic, I put it down and pushed it back in place, and they
Oh.
told me like, "You made it worse by doing that,"
Oh
and I had
God.
so I have a plate in there with a bunch of screws, and after
Ugh.
that, and I was already like
Yeah.
arguing with dad and having a bunch of trouble. So
Coach,
that
my
kind of,
arm.
yeah, it was
Man.
pretty bad. Yeah,
Oh God.
Damn.
but
That's rough.
but yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I could totally sympathize with that. Like I look
Yeah.
back and I say, the dumb decisions I made. I look back and I say, man, I thought I was disciplined. I thought I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
When my coach told me something, nah,
Yeah.
I can get away with doing it this way, and you can. And we're talking about like Zay and someone who's so talented.
Sure.
And that's a bad part about growing up in a small town, is someone like him had so much potential, but we would let him get away with so much here because he was such a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And that
and
and, and
that's Exactly. That's the problem too. Cause the problem is if you're a coach for those individuals, or if you're someone who a mentor to those individuals, if you allow that,
Yeah,
if you hold people to standards and to hold people to the standard of saying like, if you want to be special, like you're good here, you're good in San Diego. Do you want to be special in what you do? Because that's a problem. A lot of people let people get
yeah,
away with it, like you said, because they are talented. It's like, well, I can't tell them anything because like, well, no, those are the kids you have to coach those ones even more so because
yeah.
there's so much more in there.
And that's a hard position for a coach for a small town like say Brawley to be in, is because how are you going to tell this kid who is doing everything right now, it looks good right now, but then when he got out of high school, he kind of fizzled and didn't really live up to the potential that all of us knew he had. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I remember my senior year thinking like, dude, this guy could possibly get into the NFL. Like he
sure.
had that. I felt like he had that kind of talent. It's never guaranteed. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt,
And
no
his
doubt. As far as
Yeah.
skill
yeah,
set, for sure. I mean, as whether it was as a defensive back or even on the offensive side of the ball, yeah. I mean, his physical abilities and just a natural what he did naturally. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
100%. Yeah, he had the skill set to make it at that level. Yeah,
yeah. And I mean that's what I was saying about it's hard. That's the bad part about coming from a small place like Brawley is you can be so dominant and
yeah,
we're going against small, you know what I mean? You don't get exposed to the bigger competition as much as you should. I remember we
yeah,
would have in track and field my senior year, we would have a tri meet instead of a dual meet with the smaller schools like Palo Verde and Hopeville.
yeah,
And because they just didn't have a big enough team. And I remember I ran like the 3200, which is the 2 mile, the 1 mile, the 800, and I ran the 4x4 team. I scored more. I beat those teams by myself. Like, and
yeah,
how am I
yeah.
supposed to not have a big old ego, like a big head?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's true. It's true. And that's
Yeah,
where hopefully, like you said, hopefully you have someone around you that's going, yeah, good, but here's what you're comparing yourself to though you got to
Yeah.
compare yourself to this, not what you see here, and it is hard.
but how
It is
many? I
hard
mean,
because
how many great, really, high school coaches generally aren't going to be the greatest. You know what I mean? That's just not.
fair
It's
fair enough.
yeah,
It's tough, and like you said, I mean, like when you're a high school coach and you are just sitting there going, oh, he's my most talented player or she's my most talented player, I mean, what am I going to tell them? Because sometimes those kids come with attitudes, and then it's even more so. Like I know a kid right now, super talented from another school that plays football, and he's got the size to go Division 1. And I like what they tell me is like, oh, he's got a horrible attitude though. He just kind of shows up late, does what I'm like, God, dude,
and
like these are the
and if you ride him too hard, he might just quit. He might just quit. Like
Yeah.
those type of kids might just quit and just say, "F this." You know what I mean?
yeah,
This
they
coaching.
yeah, it could. Yeah, I think there's times where like it just depends on who the information is coming from, right? So if it's someone that like, you can't be someone who never pushed someone, then all of a sudden we're like, okay, now I'm going to push you. Like they have to know like where it's coming from a place of true care, and that they know that you've been, whether it's you're working to help to get them to that next level, whatever they're trying to do, and then they see it as that. It's like, all right, this is not as you just trying to be a dick to me. It's like you trying to actually help me,
Yeah,
and finding that balance in between there, not just like, oh, I just want you to help me win games here, or
Yeah.
win me a championship here, or do this, right? It's, I don't care about here. I'm trying to get you somewhere else.
yeah. And I think if people kids that I think it's something to have some pride in where you came from, and
Yeah.
like you, it's pretty cool that you guys are doing this show. I think to kind of hopefully people and kids can look at this and say like, oh, this is our lineage. This is where we come from.
Yeah.
There is great athletes and not athletes, not just athletes, but people in the business realm or
Business,
anything,
music, whatever it is,
anything.
right?
Yeah,
It's just there's so many people from here, and they've done things that, like I said, a lot of people don't even know about, and it's like, or some do, but it's like, man, if they would see this and see like even your stories, like it didn't even happen necessarily in high school for you or in college. Like now it's like you're saying, down the road from that, like that you're still pushing the limits for yourself and trying to find new opportunities and growing what you're doing.
yeah. And if kids could see that, then they could easily kind of look at, and it means something to be it means something tangible to be a part of something.
Yeah.
You look at Brawley Wrestling.
Yeah.
It's not coincidence that they keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Now they're getting, after they've already won so many CAF titles, it's a lot easier for Tony Leon to say, look, you want to be a CAF champion? Come over here. And he'll get talented kids who maybe wouldn't have wrestled 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that means something to, it means something to be a part of something, whether it's just wrestling or just being from Brawley. And then when you look at it in a certain way and they say, it means something. And when I get out of here, if I do something special, I'll mean something in that small town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that is not necessarily thought of, I don't think, as always thought of as it's a true thing or like a tangible thing, but it's there. Like it does, it can help you. It can mean something if you think of it in that way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, no, you're right, man. That's what's cool about like the reason why we wanted to do this in the first place, right? I mean, I've been helping people get out of here or do things out of here for years, and it's just
because
like,
it is a place you can just get stuck. It totally is. You could just
and even that though, like, but I think even people not realizing like you can make it here too.
Yeah.
Like you can make it and not leave this area. Right? You don't have to leave here to do something special with yourself, to do something special with your life. Like it's just, I think, like very, very short-sighted for people. Like was like, I think I know a lot of kids when you leave, it's like, I gotta get out of the Imperial Valley, man. I gotta leave there. It's like, and it's fair. Like I think it's good to go see something else and figure out what you want to do and all those things. But there's ways to make an amazing life for yourself here. And there's people who are doing that. And there's people that are getting out of here and doing amazing things. So, and that's like the main thing is we wanted to tell all these stories because there's so many people, just in our lives that have done like things that, I mean, I know a lot of people know about, but that are inspiring, that show you different ways, right? Like it's not.
I think it's super cool. I think it's super cool, man. Like I said, I growing up, I grew up with like the Brawley Pride thing. I never really thought of it as a bad thing. I always thought of it as a cool thing to be from a small town in the middle of nowhere. I love when people ask me like, where are you from? Dude, I'm from this small ass little place on the border of Mexico. Like you've probably never been there. You probably never heard of it.
Yeah.
But like, I would like sometimes if I got real good friends when I was like younger and I was just out of high school and lived in San Diego, I would bring them to Brawley just to show them. Like, dude, to me, it was always a cool thing. I never thought of it as like, oh, I don't want to. It's funny because my mom would talk about it. She still talks about it in that way. Then probably like, oh, it always smells like poop. I hate going by sugar and there's nothing to do there. It's like, but I never thought of it that way. I always thought it
either.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there are people who definitely think of it that way. But to me, man, like you said, like I've never been more proud of this. Is where I'm from. I mean, and it is funny. Like you mentioned, like you tell people where you're from and things like that. It's funny how many random people have like know where you're from and know where. Yeah, like I know where Brawley is, or know where I know where the Imperial Valley, El Centro, whatever. Right? Like it's funny when people actually do know.
Yeah.
Like
it's true.
Where we are at least.
I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, is that by Glamis?"
Yeah, exactly. Got that.
Or people like, "Oh, the Salton Sea I've never been there, but I've heard about it." Yeah, there's a few things about it that you hear about. It's funny because like the agriculture is really like in reality that's the biggest thing, but
that's
no one ever talks about that.
That's what we're in. I mean, we work in agriculture. We work in export sales with hay products all to Japan and China and Korea, and like I mean that's people from all over the world that come here because of the agriculture side of things, which is funny.
And I mean I kind of knew about that because my dad always worked in the fields, Bermuda grass and alfalfa and all that stuff, and having the tractors and it's pretty interesting how big of a thing it is. Like it's a big thing. And then learning the history too. Like you can go on YouTube and you can watch some pretty cool stuff about the history of the Salton Sea and the Colorado River and why all this stuff is even here. And like the only reason the Salton Sea is there right now is because they tried to dam the Colorado River in like the 40s or 30s.
There was like a flood, right?
and they messed up. Yeah, they messed up. and for like 3 years, they took them to fix it, and it diverted all the water into Salton Sea. And like, I guess if you go back like millions of years, that had been filled. That basin had been filled up before, but we kind of as humans messed it up, and that's like the only reason why there's so much agriculture here now, like because they messed up, and the all the farmers did do such a good job with the canals and keeping the water running and all this stuff. Like there's actually a lot to all that. You know what I mean? Like Salton Sea and the slabs, and you know, you can go watch documentaries on the slabs, and you know, I can show my friends like this. Yeah. And I can show my friends like this is where I grew up. You know what I mean? It's pretty, to me, it's super, super cool. So I'm a big fan. I hope you guys make this thing like that all the people from Brawley watch. You guys, I would talk to people still to this day. I talk to people that I'll run against, a couple people from San Diego that I still run against. There's a really good guy named Dylan Marks, and he was like a top San Diego runner. And I've become kind of close to him in the past few years because he ran CIM and qualified at the trials the same way I did his first marathon.
Okay.
And I remember talking to him, and he grew up in San Diego. And once we started getting to know each other, I'd be like, yeah, I'm from Brawley. And he's like, oh, dude, no way. He's like, and it's funny. He'd be like, dude, how come the Brawley guys are always so tough, dude, in every sport? And he wrestled, and he would say, we'd go to the football games, and those guys were like mean, and like, that's, you know, and that's how out of the San Diego, I think that mentality of always kind of being like the underdog.
Oh yeah.
Going against the bigger schools. Like I still carry that mentality with me to this day. Like,
that chip on the shoulder, that little bit that you have to prove something, or you're gonna, no doubt about it, man.
We're not from LA, we're not from San Diego. I'm sure going to your races, you feel the same way, man.
You got something to prove, or something that, like you said, you're putting on for a lot of other people. You're
and just always going up against the big dogs. Like to me, that's always.
You're always the underdog in the situation. You have something that you have to prove because of it.
And just like you said, having that tough, gritty mentality. Like you look at other people who just in running, all it is mental toughness. Honestly, that's really all it is. It's pretty simple. How hard are you going to train?
A few other things for you, though. I mean, there's some talent and some athletic ability but who's gonna, like, you're not gonna quit. You're gonna continue to push forward and persevere, and you're not giving up.
I mean, of course there's talent, but I mean, talent for running, it's just a grindy kind of dirty thing. Like it's really just a grindy out of anything. Like you could look at basketball and you could say, obviously look at LeBron James. Like, oh yeah, you could tell he's the biggest guy on the court. He's the strongest guy on the court. He's the fastest guy on the court. He's got to be good as long as he has some hard work. And obviously he has a ton of hard work, and he's like super smart. But in running, like, dude, I turn my brain off completely. Like, it's not complicated. When you get to the highest levels, and I get this coach and he helps me in training and all this stuff. But in reality, like, I would beat people just off of hard work. You can beat people just off of hard work.
Sure.
Some people aren't hard.
No.
I mean, as mean as that sounds, some people are soft, and I think now, more than ever, really.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are soft. No, it is true. Yeah, what you have up here, and in this, like what you're going to not let, you're going to push through. I mean, that definitely puts you in a different category.
And just like bringing it back around, like if you just have that mentality of just, I'm from Brawley, I'm tough, I'm an underdog, dude, that could be it. All you need is small advantages. If you have that small advantage where you're just tougher than the other person, majority of the time, you're going to come out on top no matter what it is. If you're just a little bit tougher, that can get you a long way, just being tougher in every aspect.
No doubt.
So you got an impressive track record with wrestling, and it seemed like cross country and track, but it seemed like you weren't that much into cross country and track. You kind of just went out there and did it. Like you said, you went to that trial that one day. Did you feel like you had like a special talent at that?
I mean, obviously I'm talented in running. But I've always been good at any of the sports. Like, it is my ego talking, but I think with the success I'm having in running right now, I could have had that success in any sport. Obviously, it would have been way harder in basketball or football because I'm just not that big.
Size,
yeah. Where some of those sports are just a lot harder. You're gonna have to really overcome a lot. to
Yeah.
be certain size.
To get to
size
that
matters more.
that level that you're, yeah.
Yeah, but mentality is a big thing, and I've always I pick up things super duper quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's, like I said, maybe that's just my ego talking, but honestly, I felt like I could have, as the success I have now, I could have had that success in any sport. I
Yeah.
just think
Yeah.
when I was younger, also that ability to get good at stuff, and I liked so much stuff, I would jump
You're
around
doing
all the
so
time.
many things.
I
Yeah.
would jump around.
Yeah.
And that hurts you too. But the biggest thing was ego, and complacency. Just finally now, these past few years especially, my work ethic is finally catching up with my natural ability.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing easily. And I could admit that now looking back. It's easy to look back, and like I said a bunch of times already, at how undisciplined I was,
Mhm.
how easily I quit sometimes,
Yeah.
and being soft, being a baby. And now that I'm older, and you know, that's a big advantage of taking that break too. I wasn't beat up. I didn't go so hard in for all my high school years and then all my college
Yeah.
years and grind
It's
yourself
true.
down.
Yeah. Yeah, you're still
I
pretty
was
fresh at this
I
point.
was
Yeah.
I was pretty fresh, yeah, and not only physically but mentally.
Yeah.
I'm pretty fresh. So it's a totally different angle I come at it. But yeah, I like, honestly, it's weird. I'm kind of into this running thing, committed now. I'm totally committed. I'm too deep to
Yeah.
back out now. And the opportunities I have now, and the possibilities to qualify for the Olympic team, like that's
Yeah.
insane. Like
It is.
I never would have even put myself in that spot, but I'm at that spot now where I can stick my nose in with anybody in the US and race
Yeah.
against the marathon. How did I get there? I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But honestly, I want to do like triathlon. Dude, I'd be so good at triathlon. I know I would be, but I'm just in this avenue right now, and it's hard to branch away. Like, my coach doesn't want me to do anything else, like trail
Stay
running.
with the
Yeah.
running for it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and not just running. Like, I love trail running, but my coach does not want
Yeah.
me to really branch out. Not that he doesn't want me to, but the road training is so specific and so hard. You don't want to veer off any
Mhm.
different way. Like, if you're gonna be, if I really want to give myself an actual chance at the Olympic team in 3 years, I have to actually,
Yeah.
as focused as I have been, now I have to get even more focused. You know what I mean? As good as I have been, I have to get even better. Like, there's no room for any error, or like, at this point, you have to be completely, I have to be completely all in and work
Yeah.
even harder and be even more consistent and not falter in any way. And that's just to give myself a chance, you know?
Yeah. So COVID, kind of going, subsiding a little bit here now, and COVID getting back to some normal things and getting some races going again. What does the rest of 2021 hopefully look like for you as far as running, and what do you look forward to, in the next few years?
Yeah. Like I said, last year it's kind of a weird thing with COVID. And I actually got COVID in December, at the end of December. Luckily it wasn't very
We did
bad.
too.
We both did.
Both of us in December. Yeah.
Yeah. How was your guys' experience with it? Luckily I didn't get it very bad. I felt like a sinus infection for me.
Mine was pretty bad.
I-
My immune system's bad, but
It's soft.
I had excruciating back pain, body
It's,
aches.
you know,
everything.
it's a weird thing from what I've heard. Like, I've heard people that are pretty healthy be pretty bad, but I've heard a lot of people.
I heard it affects the strongest the worst.
Yeah, maybe.
Nope.
That's
Not it.
That's the ego talking right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I had like a sinus infection for that. That's what I felt like. I didn't think it was even that, and then like I was, that's not it. And then this guy tested positive, and then I was like, no, I think I'm all right. And then no, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a few days, and then I mean, they're pretty aggressive with treating it down here. So I mean, they were,
yeah, but I haven't. Have you guys felt any long-term effects? Like, I haven't really felt any
at
long-term effects.
all.
Yeah, that's the most important
No.
thing. That's all I was concerned with. I was just like, as long as it doesn't affect me, because I've heard.
Yeah, because with lung capacity and things like that, and yeah, I can imagine.
Have you gotten the vaccine?
I haven't. My girlfriend has got the vaccine already, so I'll get it. I think they're just opening it to the public here on like April 4th. So I can get it.
I just got
but
the
I still
first
have,
dose.
I
You
still
already
have,
got the first dose.
That's kind of a personal question, dude.
Sorry,
Jesus,
sorry.
dude.
oh, that's
Political
yeah,
now. I'm sorry. Probably shouldn't have brought that up.
that's all right. Dude, I'm like I'm super duper like laid back. Like I don't have the politics. I'm
You
not
don't believe in
Democrat or
QAnon?
Republican.
Are you a
That's another
QAnoner?
personal-
I'm nothing. Like I'm completely nothing. Like
I'm
I
with
don't
you
get
on that.
involved in anything. Yeah. I'm more of like a
My bad.
Buddhist,
My bad.
a monk of everything.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just peace, man. So you're talking about this year and going into this year. What else do you see? Hopefully in the next, whatever, 8 months, 7 months.
So like I said, like I don't really like setting goals. To me, the
Yeah.
goal is always just to get better. Like go out
Yeah.
and run faster marathons at this point. Get better, and get better until like
Yeah.
I can beat the best people. That's the goal.
Yeah.
The things are starting to come back now, races slowly. I think probably if I can get into a marathon, I'm rounding in really good shape right now. Just the past couple of weeks, I started
Uh-huh.
getting in really good shape because when I got COVID in January, I didn't run at all for like 3 weeks. So I had to kind of build back, but it came back pretty quickly. I'm going to Eugene, Oregon,
Okay.
to pace some guy. He wants to run a marathon, and he's gonna pay me to go pace him. So I mean, this, like I'm saying, I have some really cool opportunities now, and I
Sure.
paced a girl for the American record. I actually paced a girl. She broke the Canadian marathon record, and like to get paid to go run to me is just bananas.
Puts you in so many different new circles too, and individuals that could leads to other things. Yeah.
Yeah, and opening up avenues, and who knows if I run, if I can get in the area of like a 212, 210. Once you get under 210, that's when you're like, I can get in, probably look at getting an agent and maybe getting a pro contract or something like that. That'd be like what the ultimate thing. And once you're under 210, then you could race with anybody pretty much. Maybe not the Kenyans and the Ethiopians in marathoning are like insane, so far ahead of everyone. Like the best Kenyans and Ethiopians are more like sub 205. And as you get faster, it gets I can't think of the word, but it gets even every minute you go down, it gets exponentially harder to take that time off. The Ethiopians and Kenyans are just kind of leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else.
What's the record for a marathon?
2 hours and 1 minute. So that's like 4 minutes and like 39 seconds per mile.
That's from a guy who's running right now, right? That's from like someone who's like big time still, right?
Yeah. So that's the best guy in the world. His name is Eliud Kipchoge. He's a Kenyan. And he actually, that's the official world record. He actually broke 2 hours, but he did it in a time trial. So they set up a course just for him and had pacers coming in and out. And that's not allowed officially to break the world record, but they set up this thing in Italy on like the perfect weather, on a perfect flat course, just for him. And he actually broke it. He ran 1 hour, 59 minutes and like 40 something seconds. And honestly, I'm a fan of sports and all sports. I still watch basketball. I still watch football. I've played all the sports. That what he did to go under 2 hours, and it's not an official world record, but he still did it.
Insane.
He still did it. What he did, like 4 minutes and 35 seconds per mile. That's sprinting. I mean, that's sprinting. Most people can't even sprint that for 100 meters. He did that for 26 miles. I mean, that honestly, what he did, and you guys could check it out. I would, even if you're not into running, I would say check it out. LU, 2 hours. Just type that in, and it's on. You can watch the whole thing. He makes it look not that hard, but honestly, that's the most insane physical feat a human has ever done. It's just completely out of this world. Like it's not. And the more you run, the more you're gonna realize. You could tell people 4 minutes and 36 seconds per mile, and even athletes, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I know that's fast," but until you actually run,
not really understand what that means.
It's a whole nother thing. Like, dude, I'm really good at running, and I run every day, and I've done it for like the past 6 years, and I'm at a high level. I could probably run that pace for 2.5 miles. That's how insane that and I'm telling you, like, it gets exponentially harder each mile, and each second per mile gets exponentially harder.
Yeah,
Like
to maintain something like that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what that guy did is just insane. Like what people
Yeah.
do in running is just completely fucking insane. Not to say
Yeah.
that what basketball players or football players do isn't insane, but what's up, father? That's my dad right there. Not to say that what those people do aren't insane,
Yeah.
but geez, man, like doesn't even.
Yeah.
I don't even. I like.
Exactly.
Yeah, speechless. It's crazy.
So this year, is there any specific marathon that you're looking to, hopefully, that if it opens up and it's going to happen, that you
Yeah, I
you'd
think
like to do?
as long as we don't go backwards in this whole COVID thing, by the end of the year they'll have the big marathons back, like Chicago Marathon,
Yeah.
Boston Marathon. So I'll probably do a couple big ones, and I haven't really done a big
Yeah.
one yet. CIM was big, the California International Marathon.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably in the top 10 biggest in the US, but still to
Okay.
jump into one like a Chicago Marathon, like a Boston
Yeah.
Marathon, and those kind of ones, if they happen this year, I'll probably jump into one of them.
Yeah.
Whichever one fits best, where the most fit, and that'll probably be towards the end of the year,
Prepared.
like October. I'll probably do CIM again. And honestly, it doesn't matter which one. I could jump in any of them. It just matters what time you run.
Yeah.
Any of those big ones that are all that matters is that the course is USATF certified. So to have an actual qualifying time where you can qualify for the Olympics or for a record or anything like that, for it to actually count, it just has to be on a USATF certified course. And USATF is just the governing body for running, like the NBA or NFL or whatever.
Gotcha.
So any of those races, it doesn't really matter. As long as I jump in a couple of those and keep working my way down, that's all that matters to me. That as long as I do that,
making progress.
Yeah. That's all.
So you're not targeting a certain race right now?
No, it's still up in the air. Everything's too up in the air right now.
Yeah, sure.
But sorry, are you still working with your coach? Like, do you have are you on a training regimen right now?
Yeah.
Daily routine, weekly routine?
Yeah. So right now we're in marathon training. Like I said, if I can find one to do in May, that would be, I could probably knock a real good time out in May. Whether I can get a competitive fast marathon in May, I don't know yet, but if possible, yeah. But right now I'm in training, and so my coach, what he does is he puts basically a month ahead in a calendar, and every day I just do what he has written down. And honestly, with me, it's super simple. Whatever he writes down, I do it. I don't ask him questions. I don't complain. To me, it's super duper simple. You just knock it out. If I could, if I do exactly what he says, if I could do it, then I have nothing to worry about. Like, people tend, in my opinion, people tend to overcomplicate things and say like, "Oh, can you make this workout easier?" Or like, "What's up, Bunny Buns?" Yeah, I'm almost done. If some people are a little bit harder to like, or overcomplicate things, basically. I like to make it real simple. If I could do exactly what he says, then that's all that matters. I know, like I said, he's real scientific. So if I could do exactly what he writes, I'm good. I don't have to worry about it. Like I said, I'm super duper like laid back, like Zen mode. So I go to races and I don't get nervous at all. I love it. I look forward to it. The problem I have more with is the easy stuff. The easy stuff is boring. It's not fun. I don't enjoy running easy. And the way you train, you do a lot of, most of your running is easy. So when I'm deep in training, like I am now, I'll go like easy day. So it's just like 10 miles, 10 to 14 miles, just easy. So easy just means your heart rate is in a certain zone. So like heart rate 1. So you only want your heart rate to be in a zone where you're comfortable and you can do it for a long time. And so it's just easy running. 2 days easy, and then you'll have like a workout. And then like 2 days easy, and then you'll have a workout. And the workout could be different from like a shorter 1 mile repeats, half mile repeats. And then the middle type of workout is more like a tempo, like a 5 mile tempo or a 10 mile tempo at like 5K pace, 10K pace. So pretty quick, but something you can hold for a longer period of time. And then a longer workout would be like an 18 to 20 mile workout at a maybe the first half would be at 80% of marathon pace, and then your last 10 will be at marathon goal pace, whatever that is. Like for me, it'd be like I want to run like in between 4:50 and 5 minute flat right now. That would put me around like 2:10 marathon pace. So a lot of it is just acclimating your body to be able to run that pace while in between resting. So you the 2 days in between the workouts are just enough for your body to recover, just enough so you can go back at it and just tear your body apart.
Kill yourself again.
And just enough time to go back and work out again and tear your body apart, basically. So that's just that over and over and over.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the next couple of years is just trying to getting qualified. So if you hit under 217, so then you that's a qualifying to get in the trials.
Yeah, so that's what it was last year. 219 or faster was to qualify, and that was the last cycle. Each time they change it. If there's too many people who qualify, they'll lower it. Like for the women's side, the women's marathoning has kind of blown up, and at the trials there was like 400 and something women. So they're gonna cut that down for sure because that was too many. For the men, I think around 200 is what they want. So they might not touch the men's. If they do, they maybe cut it. But at the point I am now, qualifying is not a problem. I'll definitely qualify. What I'm just looking at to do is, because there's a big gap between just qualifying, like where I qualified last in 2018, there was really no way I was going to place in the top 3. I just wasn't there yet. So I did run 217, which is faster than the 219 qualifier, but way too far away, where you're going to need a 210, 209, 208 to actually get in that top 3 area. So I wasn't quite there yet. So instead of just being in that range where I was just happy to qualify, I want to move myself into the range where I want to be in the mix. And to do that, I'll have to be in the 208, 209, or 210 range.
Got you.
And if I can get in that range, then I'll be in the mix. And marathoning is pretty hard as far as race day. You never know. It's so long and so grueling. The best guy might not always win. It's not guaranteed. All you can do is put yourself in that mix. And then whoever's the best competitor out there.
Hope for the best that day.
Yeah,
man. No, that's awesome, man. I'm excited to kind of watch this now and kind of see where this goes. I mean, it's cool obviously to see, and like you said, like you're this is the first time in your life that you're really taking all the training and everything like full on and head on and really focusing on it. So obviously I think that your growth will continue to go as you put in this work.
Yeah. And if people want to follow what I do, I don't really post on anything except for Instagram, but I post a lot on Instagram. I pretty much post what I do, what my next race is, or when I have a next race. I post pretty much. My Instagram is just for my running. And that's something.
Obviously, we'll tag that in there. But what is your Instagram handle?
It's just JJ Santana. There's an underscore in front of the JJ and then underscore in between, because you have to put underscores, which I think is why you can't put spaces. I don't know, but it's just JJ Santana.
Definitely, and obviously we'll definitely be following along with that too, and watching you continue to grow and hopefully see some cool footage from some marathons from this year at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time with us. And I know this probably went longer than I think you thought too with this, but it was a good conversation. It's always cool to sit down and talk about, even the old stories of being from here and why we are the way that we are and how we got to that point. So
I'm all about it. I'm all about Brawley, dude. And podcasting is cool. Like I love this stuff. I watch Joe Rogan podcast. I watch all of his podcasts. So I think the whole concept of just kind of hanging out is kind of the best way to do it. Yeah.
Exactly, man.
I had to ask you, do you listen to any David Goggins or Cam Hanes?
I know who David Goggins is. Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, David Goggins.
Know about all them?
Yeah. And Cam Hanes too. Yeah. I think, it's funny. I'm in a kind of a weird position with those kind of guys because I do think they're savages. They're animals, But when it comes to just running, I look at them and I'm just like, these guys aren't, dude. I would just smoke these fools. Like,
No, fair enough. But like, I give like Cameron, because always he likes to work out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cameron's like goes and sits and like, I'm gonna go out and bang out like a 10 now for us, because I don't go and bang out a 10-mile run in the morning and a 10-mile run in the afternoon, which is obviously stuff that you probably can do.
Yeah.
But it's like just the thought of like, I'm gonna go lift right now, and then I'm gonna go hit this run,
No,
and then I'm gonna
those guys are my kind of guys. Like I was saying earlier about people being soft. Those are the kind of guys that I just like. I just want to show everybody, normal people, and be like, dude, just look at these guys.
See what
please.
you can do if you can. Control this thing. Yeah.
But when you said you're going to Eugene to pay someone, I was like, is he talking about Cam Hanes right now?
Yeah, those guys are awesome. But like I said, I'm in a weird position with those guys because like there's one of the Goggins' big thing that he takes people on is his 4
that 70-mile that thing, or
it's like he does a thing where it's like you do 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And that's
Jesse. I saw that. Yeah.
So people will take that challenge, and it's the David Goggins challenge. So you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So you have to finish the 4 miles within that 4 hours. And the hard part is you don't get to really sleep because every 4 hours you have to do it. But I'm just like, dude, I could probably do 10 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Like I would just crush that. But at the same time, I would never say that to David Goggins' face. Like I would
fair
be like,
fair enough. Nor would I say anything anything disrespectful. David Goggins,
you gotta callous your fucking mind right now.
Yeah, David Goggins is awesome.
Those guys are savage. Just like you said, man. It's just the mindset. But yeah, obviously your talent. Yes, your Olympic potential and that running level. Yeah, you could smoke as far as a general run on those guys.
Yeah. I would lap David Goggins.
we might have to set that. We're trying to figure out a way to set that up.
Tag him in that.
Hopefully he wouldn't grab me and snap me in half while I'm trying to lap him. That's all I would have to worry.
I was a Navy SEAL, motherfucker.
That's the cool thing about this show, dude. Like Chato brought you up to us a couple of days ago, and I didn't know who you were, dude. And we have an Olympic runner from the Valley that no one knew about, and we can bring light to. So that's a very cool thing for us, man.
Yeah, and Chato's awesome. I grew up with Chato, and he's always been that dude. I always, even knowing him back then, like he was small, but somehow he was a quarterback on the football team. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of guy where you just like, I'm not surprised he's a super successful business dude. Like there's something about
It's that mindset, man. It's the mindset thing, you know. Perseverance and pushing through.
So, I know you don't like setting goals, but I'm assuming you have your sights set on the next Olympics, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate goal. Yeah. If I get there,
we got to get the locals here.
Yeah, maybe. I mean that's one, but and I'm not completely biased or anything. Like I said, like running is not that cool. And the thing about running is watching running is. Nah, it's not fun to watch.
It's a little rough for long distance, especially. But
it's not cool to watch. So I understand why people like. It's not, it's not glamorous. It's not. I'm not doing it to be famous. That's not gonna. If I make the Olympic team, it might be a little bit different. But I'm not surprised people don't follow running, distance running. You know what I mean? It is. Like you said, once people find out, though, I'm sure it is cool. Like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Someone probably doing something cool. So.
Yeah, it's obviously. Obviously marathons are very popular. So I mean, it's popular. It's just not sexy. It's not like watching someone run a 100-meter sprint, which is like it's instant gratification.
It's not popular to watch. Like people don't watch marathoning. It's like
on the couch for 2 hours and 9 minutes to watch it.
I'm totally into it now, and I don't watch like. If I, if I do watch it, it's just like I just want to see who wins, and that's pretty much that's all that matters.
Yeah. No, man, we're excited. We'll have to follow up with you. We'll keep track and see what's going on, and if seeing what happens this year for you. If something pops and where you got something that's going on, and we need to find a way to talk to you again. We'll have to do that again and go over whatever's going on for you. So
definitely
excited, man. Excited to follow it now.
Appreciate you, dude. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
JJ, appreciate it. Thanks, man. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
All right.